Ladies and gentlemen, that's right, it's me, Dom Douglas, the back-to-back XWW Commentator of the Year. And no, we're not doing Commander decks this time, because I actually was able to get a few moments to do this.
My name is Dom Douglas, and I am back-to-back XWW Commentator of the Year. With that comes some responsibilities, but also a lot of fun and excitement, and I'm never ashamed to look like a complete fool. Speaking of that, I love playing Magic the Gathering, so much so that I kind of think I play it a little bit too much, and I have some opinions. So now, XtremeTVOnline.com and XWW Wrestling on YouTube presents my podcast where I talk about Magic the Gathering. It's the Goblin Grenade Podcast.
Also gonna have to fix that animation when I get around to it. Thank you for watching, everybody, on Extreme World Wrestling's YouTube channel. Also XtremeTVOnline.com, $4.99 a month. First 5 days are free. And folks, MagicCon Chicago happened like a week or two ago. By the time I got around to doing this, I took notes though. I had some free time when I wasn't. I'm gonna keep that earpiece out. When I wasn't editing and doing write-ups, which I'm finally caught up on, except for Love, Hate, Tragedy, but that just happened recently. So I have a little bit of time in my editing life, if you will, to get that done. Now, we will go over some of the things that happened at MagicCon this time in Chicago, what they announced, what they didn't do, what they may have done. I have a few pages of notes, and my phone is going to be doing a few things, but it was actually kind of successful. But there was a couple things that were weird. A couple things that were off-putting. I can't cover everything. I simply don't have the time to do 1,000% research on everything that dropped or happened even at that particular convention. But I will do my best to make sure that I cover what I wanted to cover. And that's the whole point of this podcast. One man, one mic, two monitors, one camera. Here we go. Mainly taking from what they released, what they were announcing in the release panel that they did. It was the only thing I was really able to watch and, get a couple ideas and whatnot on. And they did it in backwards order from what's coming out last to what's coming out next. I'm going to do it in the opposite order, what's coming out next to what's coming out last. Yeah. All right. So next set coming out is Outlaws of Thunder Junction. It is the Old West set. And, Mark Rosewater, who kind of was on the panel too, had said that for the last 15 years, Wizards of the Coast has been trying to get a Midwest themed set up and running. And they've just never been able to do it. And now with the storyline in the lore of the Omen Paths opening up, a lot more places are now available to them. And basically almost every set this year, except for Karlov Manor, Markov's at Karlov Manor. I haven't passed the 15-minute threshold yet. Everything is a new set. Karlov Manor takes place in Ravnica. Every other place we go to this year is new. And that's Thunder Junction, and the whole story is it's just a big haul, big heist, and it's the villain set, as they said. So they revealed a new mechanic called Crimes, and I have strong, hard opinions about the crime mechanic. Basically, if you counter an opponent's spell, you've committed a crime. If you kill one of their creatures on their board, they've committed a crime. Mess with their graveyard, you committed a crime. Basically, anything you do against your opponent is considered a crime. It is the most flavorful thing they've done in a set mechanic. in a long time. The flavor's on point. I just know it's going to cause a lot of confusion because even Rosewater had a bit of a hard time trying to explain crimes in general. And they previewed, Oko, my notes say, new shirtless still Oko. He's got a hat though. And it's actually kind of a fair Oko. He's assembled a group of villains for this big heist. One of them is Nissa, and the crowd popped when Nissa was revealed, because the last time we saw her and Jace, there was in the story, and I think it's in a novel, it's a really sad moment with the Phyrexian War ending and whatnot, and they've been Phyrexianized at that moment. And, in the story, they are lovers or whatnot, or an item, and they just kind of both hold on to each other, and it goes black. Like, it's like the end of The Sopranos, like, just scene ends in fade to black. And you don't know what happened to these two, but their last seconds that they think they're on or living is spent, in a very sad, beautiful moment of them holding each other, embracing for what's happening next, even if it is death. And that's really sad. But now when this is back, and I like the artwork, actually, it's her just sitting there at a bar, and almost all the patrons and the bartenders are now like turned to stone. It's a really interesting artwork for Nissa. Now there's a bonus sheet, and then I think there's another thing, but the bonus sheet, they're going to be doing that a lot, and that's just them printing a sheet of cards. And if you don't know what a sheet of cards are, it's just a whole sheet that the cards get cut from. So they're making extra bonus sheet. But they were also going to do an Aftermath-like set for Outlaws of Thunder Junction, which would have been called something like the Big Score. But to Wizards of the Coast's credit, the amount of crap that Aftermath got, March of the Machines Aftermath got, they canceled this micro set from being released. So now how do you do that? The set's already been printed and whatnot. Cards have already been made. You have now a 1 in 5 chance of getting one of these big score cards. And that would have been the conclusion to the story. So good on them for dropping a useless set style that they were going for. They experimented with the Aftermath. We all hated it when it was announced. We didn't like anything about it. And the sale showed. Apparently, Rosewater has said that March of the Machines Aftermath is absolutely not only the lowest rated set that they've ever done, but also the lowest selling set that they've ever done in recent history, or the second lowest set. And you have stuff like Homelands and Fallen Empire to compete with. When you're at that level of, you done messed up. But good on them for switching course. I like what they're doing with Outlaws of Thunder Junction. It's actually what I feel the quote-unquote Universes Beyond stuff should have been. I say that because I'm going to get all for Fallout Commander decks. I absolutely love that franchise, and that is so up my alley. And if they are anywhere close to being as good as what the Warhammer 40k Commander decks were, and I've seen a lot of the cards already, and I have a feeling they are, it's going to be a great set. And honestly, I'm not that opposed to just like future Universe Beyond set stuff, even though we do have Final Fantasy, I think this year, and Marvel next year, or vice versa, or Marvel 2026, Final Fantasy 2025. I'm not aware. I forgot the dates, but I wouldn't be opposed to those not being launched as like Magic the Gathering sets, but Commander decks. You kind of get the blend of both worlds, but Universe Machine Money Printer go burr, and Wizards will print because Wizards is the only thing keeping Hasbro open still. We'll get to that in a future podcast. Then they announced Modern Horizons 3. Modern Horizons 3 is also releasing on Magic the Gathering Arena, which is a little weird. Because Modern doesn't exist on Arena, and they've already said it never will. They have been trying to get Pioneer to card parity on Arena so you can play Pioneer in Arena, but they have to name it Explorer at the moment because they're nowhere close to having Pioneer be on Arena. They're getting there, but they're focusing more on Modern Horizons 3 being put on Arena as opposed to getting Pioneer, which would pop off on Arena. I have a feeling because they're Timeless, and I will give them credit. Timeless is basically historic everything, historic plus, if you will, and I hate historic ever since the Arena only cards came out. When I couldn't even be bothered to name what those cards are. I don't like them at all. But Timeless, though, Timeless is good. Timeless is real good. And I've played a couple Timeless decks. Goblins. I love playing Goblins in Timeless. I love playing Red Deck Wins in Timeless with Blood Moon because I am that guy. I'm trying to get a tokens build together for Timeless, and I don't know if it can actually exist, but I want to do it because it's Timeless, and Timeless you get to do some really dumb things in. So now back to Modern Horizons 3. I like the concept that they're doing for Planeswalkers. The Planeswalkers, and they revealed to Johnny, they are Magic Origin style Planeswalkers where they are flipped Planeswalkers. They start as a creature first, and then when the conditions on that card are met, you get to flip the card and it turns into a Planeswalker. And each one of these flips tells the story of how these particular Planeswalkers got their spark. Spark is basically an event that happens in your life in the universe of Magic the Gathering that causes you to become a Planeswalker. And that could be, just being really angry like Chandra, or almost dying like I think Jason, a couple others. Like a big event happens in your life in this moment in time that causes you to have your spark ignited. And we saw Ajani's, and they went a little bit over to the story of Ajani, how he was always ostracized because he's basically an albino in the cat warrior of his plane. And it's just him and his brother, and we all know that Ajani's brother does die, and that causes Ajani to have a spark. So when that happens, boom, you flip it over, and now you have Ajani's Planeswalker. I do like the rest of the fetch lands being printed. Modern Horizons 2 printed the enemy fetches, and in Modern Horizons 3, they are now printing the friendly fetches. I forgot what those are named as well. But basically the color pair, the colors that share pairs, like the white-blue fetch, the green-red, fetch. Those fetches are getting printed. But this also does mean that the non-rotating format of Modern is rotating. This is the only reason why Modern Horizons exists, just so they can rotate, if you will, a non-rotating format. Do also have to ask ourselves, why? Sorry, not why. Is Modern Horizons 3 going to mess up Modern as bad as Modern Horizons 2 did? Will Wizards of the Coast take the power creep lessons that they hopefully learned in Modern Horizons 2 and not apply them to Modern Horizons 3? Time will tell. I'm not fully positive that Modern Horizons 3 won't. I think Modern Horizons 3 is going to mess the format harder than Modern Horizons 2 did. That being said, though, I'm going to buy a lot of Modern Horizons 3 bundles. Those things, chef's kiss, because I opened up so many of those fetches and traded a bunch of those fetches to get a bunch of cards that I needed. Like, I opened up like 5 Arid Mesas, and 3 of them were retro framed, and I only kept 1 retro frame and traded the other 2 for Misty Rainforests and, fetches that I needed. So, yeah, now that I said it, I don't think it's the enemy fetches. I just think it's the other site, the other 5 fetch lands are being printed. They didn't print just the enemy fetches because Misty Rainforest was reprinted, and that is a Simic land. But my biggest complaint about the Modern Horizons 3 announcement was Modern Horizon 3 Commander Precons. It is a constructed 60 card. Modern's a constructed 60 card deck with a 15 card sideboard. Why are we getting 4 Commander Precons when Commander Masters came out last year and it was an utter poop show? It was a bad form jack, if you will, set. Didn't really kick off that much. The Precons are now massively overpriced because of how much power they put in. And the worst part is not a lot. There was a fair amount of Commanders Precons that were bought, but not the set itself. And now you're going to do a set that's going to sell well, but that has no real need for Commander Precons. Because on that front, this is going to probably be the most Commander Precons printed ever in a year. Because we've already had 4 with Markov at Karlov's Manor. Okay. Murders at Karlov Manor. I'm now 16 minutes in. And so we have 4 for that. And then Thunder Junction's getting 4. Modern Horizons 3 is getting 4. The 4 Fallout Precons. The 4, I think of the last set of the year, 4 Bloomburrows. Don't know if the Assassin's Creed set that we're going to talk about next gets Precons, but at this point, they're gunning for 24 plus Precons this year. That's a lot. That is a lot. And I get it that Commander is still the most popular and played format and also bought product when it comes to Precons. I get it. People buy Precons all the time. It's one of the best-selling things that Wizards has right now. But I'm getting tired of all these Precons. I didn't even buy any from Murders at Karlov Manor, and I didn't buy any from Lost Caverns of Ixalan either. And I know the Lost Caverns of Ixalan ones you can get pretty cheap right now on, Card Kingdom, TCG Player, Star City Games. I know they're being on sale right now. One of my favorite tricks that I want to do is sometimes people open up the Precons just to get the 2-card bonus packs. And if there's only cards that you can get in those 2-card, like, collector booster minis, if you will, they'll just have the rest of the Precon sealed still, and they'll sell it for massively cheaper. So I want to try to score 1 or 2 like that, but that's a future Dom Douglas problem, not a current Dom Douglas problem. So yeah, that was Modern Horizons 3. I want to see what happens in Arena when it comes out on Arena. That will mean the full set of fetches are on Arena now, because recently they released Cons of Tarkir a couple months ago, and it was interesting. They released it to get us prepared, to get a lot of the Arena players ready for Lost Caverns of Ixalan. No, Murders of Karlov Manor, because there's the morph mechanic in that particular set known as Disguise or Cloak. So they needed to player base that had never experienced morph mechanics before, I guess, to get used to them. So it was good on them, but they had to print the 5 fetches, and now makes more sense with Modern Horizons 3 coming to Arena with the other 5 fetches. So yeah, Timeless is going to be hella fun. No, I'm serious. Timeless is my favorite format right now, next to Draft. And I only just started getting good at Murders of Karlov Manor Draft too. Then the Universes Beyond set, Assassin's Creed, is a 100-card micro set, but not like Aftermath style where it was only 5 cards a pack and whatnot. Nobody cared. Nobody cared when they announced it. I'm serious. I could hear the cheers and whatnot from certain things that were happening in this, and it was crickets on there with the Assassin's Creed set being launched. The new treatment styles, though, the Animus treatment styles are kind of cool. I'm not going to lie, they look great. I am not ingesting anything. I'm not buying any of these Assassin's Creed cards. I don't care how cool they are, even if Haystack is a card that is actually truly on flavor. It's a funny card. Basically, in the Assassin's Creed games, if you've never played them, you can leap from a tall building or whatnot and land in a haystack. And, haha, funny, nobody sees you doing it. The card basically phases out one of your creatures. And it is seriously, I saw it and I laughed. I think it was a really great card to print. But it's going to be in a set that I don't think many people are going to care about. And I only say it because the Assassin's Creed IP itself, the intellectual property of Assassin's Creed, isn't as good as it was 5 years ago even. And I don't think the crossover fan base for Assassin's Creed and Magic the Gathering, I don't think there's a lot intertwining on that. I think this might actually be a Doctor Who Commander deck scenario, where the Doctor Who Commander decks were great, but for some reason there's this weird, the Venn diagram of Magic the Gathering players, Doctor Who players, and Commander players just didn't mix. Like, the Doctor Who fans are not playing Magic the Gathering, apparently. And so, unfortunately, 4 really great precons, collector boosters that never should have been printed, and it didn't sell as well as I feel it should have, considering all the love and attention that was given to the set. I know Doctor Who fans who have played these cards, they were like, yeah, this is on brand. So, good on them. I'm also hoping that happens to me in the Fallout, where it's like, yeah, this is really great. Here's my side note while I was taking notes on Assassin's Creed when I was watching the preview special. I played arena matches during the Assassin's Creed announcements. That's how little I cared about this IP. It must have been cheap to get. It must have been really cheap to get. Oh, and I think they're only available in collector's boosters. So I think and I could be wrong, and I probably am wrong, but those cards are only the set is a collector's booster only box. There is no other product being released for Assassin's Creed. So I don't know if there are commanders in Assassin's Creed Universes Beyond. Now, the last set. And this is the one that's gotten the most hype. And I can see why. It's Bloomburrow. This is going to be a super cute, fun set. And I say that with no shade or sarcasm in my voice. It's going to be a super fun set, super cute. Each 2-color pair represents a focused draft deck. So that means, in theory, if you draft Boros, you will have a focused deck. What's a focused deck? Focused deck just has meaning. It has cohesion and a unity involved in it. Like, say, it's tokens. Like, I do a lot of micro budgets that I never film, and they are all focused decks, like tokens. I want to make tokens, and I want to plow the field with a bunch of tokens, and I want it to swing and plunge and pump those tokens up. So that's focused. Whereas in drafts, a lot of the time, you don't get that opportunity to get a focus deck. Like the last draft that I did in a store, at the store I go to, it's called Parker Manor, Kent Wayne. And that was a Mardu pile of cards that just happened to have like a couple things that had lifelink in it, like the vampire and the lightning helix and another creature that had lifelink. And that's the only reason why I was able to win games. Getting a work leader's call, that helped. But my pile was definitely a pile because it wasn't focused. Whereas in Bloomburrow, if you focused in on a 2-color set, you will at least have some functioning focused deck. Can't wait for that draft environment. I really, honestly, I'm calling it early. It's probably going to be the best draft environment since Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. and that was single-handedly the best draft environment I've ever played in the last 10 years. Jason Rao are in the set, so Jace is back. But they are an otter and a rabbit, I think. What happens when you planeswalk or omen path? Planeswalk, you just boop right into there. Omen pathing, you have to walk through the omen paths that connect all the universes together. This is what happened after March of the Machines ended. And once you enter the plane of Bloomburrow, you become an animal, a cute little anamorphized version of yourself. So that's pretty funny to me. That's the funny part and the cute part at the same time. But also there's other real-sized creatures out there, and they did reveal a bear that's not a 2/2 bear. It has power and toughness equal to something like lands on the field, because they explained it. Like, if we have a real creature in a plane of mice and rabbits and small little animals, this bear is going to seem to them to be like this huge, enormous, like, Galta. It'll look like Galta to them, even though any other plane it would be a 2/2 bear. Galta's a 12/12 with trample. Now here's my thing, and I'm gonna pop up my phone to get this, because I'm gonna need to. I think there's some confusion. I know there's with the word tribal. They are getting away from the word tribal, because honestly, saying goblin tribal or elves tribal or something like that, it's not actually the word. They're coming across it like they're being sensitive to the meaning of the word, and I get it 1,000%. I'm for it. So they want to get rid of using that word in the lexicon. And at first, internally, by Mark Rosewater, the word was typo that they were now using at Wizards of the Coast. Hadn't been an official word yet. Then they said kindred was the new name that going forward tribal would be. But they bounce between both the words in this, if at all. I think they used kindred once and they used typo a lot. And I was one of those guys. I was like, oh, this is a stupid way. This is too stupid. This is too sensitive and whatnot. No, it wasn't actually. I was very wrong on that assertion. And when I actually did some research and went to the dictionary to look up the word typal, Typal, it's an adjective of or pertaining to a type, serving as a type, typical. Typal in American English, of pertaining to or constituting a type, serving as a type or representative, typical. The word is first recorded in the period of 1850 to 1855. Between those 2 years in the 1800s, this word was invented to describe what tribal decks in Magic the Gathering really are. Now, did they abandon kindred and just went for typal because it just flows better? To which it does, and it has a bit better of a meaning than what the decks would be in Magic the Gathering? I don't know, but they need to have somebody 100% say, are we moving to typal or kindred? Me personally, I like typal. It just flows a little bit better off the mouth, off the tongue. It's more accurate to describe if you're doing a goblin deck or an elf deck or a dinosaur deck, a vehicle deck. It accurately describes what those decks would be a little better than I think kindred. So yeah, that's Bloomburrow. They revealed one card, and they revealed that in the draft environment, things would go if you draft 2 colors, you will have a focus deck, and that's their intent. Oh, did get to crack a bunch of play boosters though. I wasn't happy that draft boosters were dying, but I was also happy that set boosters were dying. I did not like set boosters at all. I was not a set booster person. I hated the fact that they replaced the set boosters in with bundles and then gave you less packs. And you know, I love bundles. I bought Murders at Karlov Manor bundle. You know, you get me a good I think bundles are better expected value, or EV, than buying a box nowadays. And my Murder at Karlov Manor kind of proved it. I mean, Vein Ripper, that didn't pop off until a couple weeks later when the Pioneer Pro Tour happened, and it was like infested with Rakdos, red black vampires. And Vein Ripper does dumb things in that deck. And I opened up like the case Vein Ripper and put it in Markov immediately. I've opened up my fair amount of play boosters. I think it's a beautiful balance between set and draft boosters. It makes drafts a little bit more fun. And for me, way more challenging, because you will crack 3-4 rares or mythics in a pack and you don't know what to do. And you come into that back of your brain where it's like, do you draft for need or greed? And for me, when I'm presented with 4 rares and one of them's foil, greed will always win. And unfortunately, in the last pod I played in, somebody took 15 rares. They drafted 15 rares and played 13 of them. Now, being said, all rares are not created equal, and they shouldn't have been playing that many rares because they drafted a pile. But I can see why, because this person was genuinely excited that they got 15 rares in the draft. Like, and you can't replace that. And they even knew, like, I might not win, but I got 15 rares, and that's all I cared. And I was like, you know what? That's awesome. That's like a genuine 100% pure, unadulterated reaction that this person had. So more power to him. Me, as I said, I drafted a pile, a Mardu pile, and only because I had a few things with lifelink and word leaders call is the only reason why I won my games. Technically, I was 1-1 and 2-1. I won the first game, I lost the second game, and it was close. In the third game, because so many people dropped, I had no opponent. But because everybody dropped, the 3 players that remained at our pod, we all got prizes. So that was fun. But, you know, play boosters are cool. Now, the big Universes Beyond set, I think, this year is the Assassin's Creed. So 2025 is Final Fantasy, or the end of this year is Final Fantasy, and next year is Marvel. I should look up right now when the Marvel set comes out, just so I can get 100% accurate as much as I can. All right, so the Marvel MTG release date, it's actually going to drop next year. All right, so next year is Marvel. Let's find out the Final Fantasy. And I think Final Fantasy might be this year. No, whoa. Okay, so both Marvel and Final Fantasy are coming out next year. Early predictions, and I don't know anything about anything that's been said or anything like that. I think Final Fantasy isn't a full set. I think Final Fantasy is a commander set. Commander set only. I don't think it's a Assassin's Creed type of set, especially with how the micro sets, Aftermath canceled almost all the other micro sets. Marvel's a full set. That's going to be a full send set. That's going to be 300 plus cards, 4 commander decks. It wouldn't even surprise me if they did introductory packs, introductory decks or packs. It's going to have its own starter kit. It's going to have everything that you can think of to release. And that's going to be a full set. So yeah, wow, both of them are coming out. And I think there's one more set coming out this year, but or early next year. And that's the set that they haven't talked about at all, except for it being the plane is one giant mansion, like one world-size mansion, and it's a true horror experience, not Ravnica horror where it's zombies and whatnot, but just true, more, not like, I mean, Innistrad, not like Innistrad, where it's like goblins and zombies and whatnot. More of a true horror experience. So I can't wait for that one, but I don't know if that's out late this year or early next year. And I already alluded to the Pioneer, the Pro Tour for that was Pioneer, dominated by vampires, red-black vampires, justifiably so. It's a really good deck. I've seen the lists. So yeah, that's been one amazing podcast here. I hope that the next two commander deck my commander decks don't come out for a bit. Those are emergency break glass in case of emergency videos that I've already filmed, and the next two are infinitely better than the first two. I actually filmed it correctly this time. Trust me, they look so much better. But yeah, I hope to get a couple podcasts out before I have to use one. Don't forget, XtremeTVOnline.com, $4.99 a month. The first 5 days are free. You can catch all the XWW action that we put out there. Also, thank you for watching on YouTube. The views have been shocking. There's a reason why I did that pre-release video when I visited my girl, Erin, in New Jersey, my girlfriend. Yes, she's like, you can use my name. Quit referring to me as my girlfriend. So when I went there, because y'all have been killing it with supporting and watching and whatnot. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I was never expecting the Goblin Grenade podcast to pop off. If you want to co-host with me, get in touch. Doing a one-man podcast is hard. That being said, my name is Dom Douglas. Well, still back-to-back commentator of the year for XWW. And may your top deck always be mythic. And I'm going to lose my shirt on these Fallout Commander decks.